Hi, my name is Angel. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another book haul. This will probably be my last book haul for a little while because right now I have about 60 or a little bit over 60 books on my physical TBR, and I told myself I will not be buying any more TBR books until I get that down to 30, which I feel like is a pretty good realistic goal. One of the big things that I'm going to be doing this year is reading off of my physical TBR, so I feel like I'll have no problem getting that down to that number because most of these books on my physical TBR I already have planned out to read this year, which is great for me. But I do have a big stack of books that I have acquired since between my birthday and now. My birthday's in the beginning of November. I did its own separate birthday haul for that. But now I have all of these books, most of them are used, and I figured I would just haul them for the channel. So starting off, this is actually a late birthday present, that's why it wasn't in my birthday book haul. This is from my boyfriend's mom, so very kind. She got me two books. The first one that she got me was Starling House by Alix E. Harrow, which I did not realize actually has the sprayed edges, the purple edges, which is so pretty. This is probably one of my favorite book covers out of everything that I read last year. I just think it's so stunning, so gorgeous, and I really enjoyed the book. This was a 4.5 star for me. It is like dark, gothic, fantasy horror, and it's really interesting. So that one I have read already, but she also got me one for the TBR, which is the Nature Fix, Why Nature Makes Us Happier, Healthier, and More Creative by Florence Williams, which is a nonfiction book that I've been wanting to read. I enjoy nature. Nature is healing, and I want to learn more about that and how it is. Before we get into the used books portion, I did get a little bit of money for Christmas, and I did treat myself to some books. I went in getting one specific book and then realizing that Barnes & Noble was having their 50% off hardcover sale, so then I got two more. Of course, all of these were in my top reads of last year. So the first one, the one that I went in there on a mission to buy, was of course Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. You guys already know it was my top book last year, and I just wanted the special edition so bad with the red edges, and then it's got these, I don't know what this is called, like in the book, these pages, but they're like annotated parts of the screenplay, and then the very end has a whole bunch of extra like interview type things with Paul Tremblay, so that's pretty cool. I still have yet to actually go through and read all of these questions and answers, but she's gorgeous, and originally it was $30, and that's why I was waiting to get it. But then I got it 50% off, so that's pretty cool. Then to take advantage of the sale, I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. Like I said, also in my top 10. This is a really fun horror book that takes a very interesting look at the slasher genre, and I just love Stephen Graham Jones' writing. You know what is so funny? This is such a side note. Okay, years ago, I tried to read My Heart is a Chainsaw, and I remember getting like, I don't know, I want to say like 70% of the way through. Like, I got a really good chunk of the way through that book and then put it down, and I remember like not thinking anything of it, and then somebody liked my review of it on Goodreads the other day. After years, they found it and they liked it, and in that review I said, I just don't think Stephen Graham Jones' writing is for me. I have no memory of ever saying that. I love Stephen Graham Jones. And the other hardcover that I got at Barnes & Noble was Moonbound by Robin Sloan, which is a sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, coming of age, really interesting story that takes place in the very distant future. And then this one is just gorgeous too. Like the pink on the inside, and then the dust, or the book underneath the dust jacket has like these stars and planets, and it's just very pretty, very gorgeous. Love the book as well. And it's literally, listen, with a book cover this freaking gorgeous, how could I not put it on my shelf? I think this may be one that in the future I do end up displaying on the shelf because I just love to look at the cover of it. So those are the three brand new books that I treated myself to recently. If you guys know, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I don't bookshop super often, and when I do, I tend to buy used books just because I think that's a little bit better for everybody. So when I do actually treat myself to a brand new book, it feels very special. Late in November, I took a trip to St. Augustine, Florida, which is a couple hours away from where I live now. And while I was in that area, I was actually able to meet up with Brooklyn from Brooklyn's Library, who is here on BookTube. I do have a vlog of this entire trip and of us book shopping together if you do want to see that. But since I only did the haul in that video and I never really talked about it anywhere else on my channel, I figured I would just haul those books now. So when I got there, Brooklyn did actually have a gift for me. She gave me a couple of books. First of all, she gave me Alice and Red Queen by Christina Henry, which are like the Alice in Wonderland retellings. I've read from Christina Henry before. I have absolutely loved her stuff, and then I've absolutely hated another one of her books, so I'll be very curious to see, because I'm pretty sure these are YA, and the whole like retelling vibe, I'm curious to see if they work for me, even though they didn't work for Brooklyn, but one of these days I'll get to them. I don't know when that will be. Don't be counting on it. And then the thing that really blew me away is that she gifted me this House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, which, like we all know, I need to read. I desperately need to read this book. I'm a little bit scared because I feel like I'm gonna need like 3 or 4 weeks to dedicate to this book alone, and that just makes me nervous because I'm like, when am I gonna have the time for that? I feel like over the years, hearing about this book, in my heart, I feel like I know. Like, it feels like I've read this book. It feels like a familiar book to me. It feels like a book that is a favorite of mine, even though I've never read it. So I really need to get to that. But like, how could I not be intimidated by it when you just look through it? Like, I feel like I'm gonna need like a notebook, like a dedicated House of Leaves notebook, where I could sit there and just take notes on everything and tab everything and highlight and underline and do all that stuff so I can figure out what's going on. So those were the ones that were gifted to me by Brooklyn, and then of course we went book shopping and I ended up picking up I think like 8 books, so let me grab those. So I have 7 here. I don't know if I'm forgetting any, but we're just gonna go with it anyways. It's been a while and these books have been sitting on my shelf, so I may have forgotten when I was pulling them off for this video some of the books, but that's okay. So first of all, I got 2 Eric LaRocca books to add to my collection. I got The Trees Grew Because I Bled There, which is a short story collection. One of my favorite short stories in this collection is called Bodies Are for Burning. That's so funny that I opened it and literally flipped right to that exact page. That story has never left my mind, and I love Eric LaRocca. And then, of course, I also picked up Everything the Darkness Eats, which I do like this cover, like the black on black, but the special edition cover, I think is so gorgeous. I want that one so bad. But I just wanted to have this for my little Eric LaRocca collection. Then I also got 2 Carly Fortune books. These are the 2 Carly Fortune books that I actually enjoyed, because Meet Me at the Lake, I gave 1 star. This is Every Summer After. This is like childhood friends to lovers, and there's a bunch of drama in it. I gave this 4.5 stars. And then This Summer Will Be Different was one of my 5-star romances from last year. This is about a girl that falls in love with her best friend's brother, and they hook up before she realizes that that's the brother. So it was really fun, a lot of drama. I just love like the very picturesque summer backdrops that Carly Fortune has in all of her books, and I also really love the male main character in here, Felix. I think about him a lot. Then I picked up Gone to See the Riverman by Christopher Triana because I read this on my Kindle, so I do own it on my Kindle, but I wanted to have a physical copy because it's a book that I really did enjoy. I just like Christopher Triana. This is extreme horror that gets very, very dark and very fucked up. I would not broadly recommend this to people. Definitely look up trigger warnings if you are considering reading this book, but it really worked for me. And then I got Wilder Girls by Rory Power, which is a YA horror book. This is like body horror. It's also a little bit of eco horror. It is about female friendship, and I just had a great time when I was reading it, and I'm very happy to own it. I'm a little bit sad that this thing is like printed on the book. Like, why do we have to have that there on this gorgeous cover? Why does that have to be there? And then the last thing, I think the last thing that I got on that trip was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, which is just a little book about a boy who starts getting visited by a monster at night, and the monster says He's going to tell him 3 stories, and then when he is done, that boy has to tell him a 4th story. And we are following him through this time. And this book has a lot of different illustrations in it, which is really fun. It may or may not have made me cry. It made me feel like my heart was being ripped out of my body and stomped on. But I enjoyed it. And the last little bit that I have is some books that I picked up used over Christmas as a little Christmas gift for myself. This is all books that I have read before. Actually, that's a lie because there's one in here that I have not read. But this stack right here, this is all books that I have read before. I just wanted to own the physical copy because it was a book I enjoyed. So we have Brother by Anya Ahlborn, which first of all, this was described when I bought it as like new. There's literally a hole in the cover. There's a hole in the cover. Like, what do you mean? And it pierces through the pages. So I don't think this is like new, but we're just gonna move on. I have the book now. This is about a kid that is in a family of murderers and cannibals, and he doesn't quite want to live that life, but he's not quite sure how to go about leaving. It's dark and gross, and I really liked it. Then I have Migrations by Charlotte McConaghy. I have her other book, Once There Were Wolves, and I know she has another book coming out this year, so ideally I would like to own all 3 of those together. But this is about a woman that is going on a fishing vessel out into the Arctic to, like, what is the word? Like, research these birds that are going extinct, and it's very emotional and very moving. And I think Charlotte McConaghy has such beautiful writing, and the way she tells her stories, like, she just crafts them so perfectly, and I'm really, really pleased every time I read one of her books. Then I picked up Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter, which was my top book of 2023, so it's about time that I picked this up. I had it on my Kindle because I got it through NetGalley, so that's why I wasn't like super worried about getting a physical copy, but then I went through all my Kindle highlights and tabbed everything in here, and oh my god, I was like, wow, this book is way more sad and depressing than I remember it being. And I remember it being pretty sad and depressing. But like reading some of the quotes that I highlighted, I was like, oh my god. This is about a girl that is working in Silicon Valley, the corporate 9-to-5 girly type of vibe, but she is very depressed, and her depression has taken on this physical manifestation of a black hole that followed her throughout the whole story. It's very dark, it's very sad, but the writing is stunning. It was also pretty interesting when I was putting my highlights in because, like I said, I read it from NetGalley, so I had an advanced copy. So it was kind of funny to see the quotes that got tweaked a little bit before the final product came out, and then also some quotes that were just like missing or cut off, which I was a little bit sad because I enjoyed them. But it was just really interesting to be able to compare that because I've never done that before with any advanced copies that I've read. The next used book that I got was another one of my top books of 2023. This is The Pisces by Melissa Broder. This is essentially a book about a woman that falls in love with a merman, and it's nasty and very sexual and very strange, but I really, really loved it. This is one that I finished and I could not stop thinking about it for like days and even weeks after finishing it, so it was a very solid 5-star for me. I have 2 books left and the battery is flashing at me, so hopefully I can make it through these, but the last one that I got that I have read before is My Body by Emily Ratajkowski. I don't even know how to say her last name, I'm gonna be honest. I just call her Emrata. But this is her like nonfiction memoir type of thing, talking about how she came into fame and like popularity and how her body was a big part of that as being a very sexual symbol to be looked at, and I just thought it was really, really interesting when I read it, and I wanted to own it and hopefully reread it again in the future and see if I still feel as strongly towards it as I did when I first read it. And last but not least, I have one more book that I have not read yet, but I already have it planned for a video this year. That is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I think that's how you say it. So this is like a true crime novel, but I've also heard that there's a lot that's fictionalized about it, so I guess it's just a blend of true crime and fiction as well, but it is probably one of the most popular and like best-selling true crime books ever, so I'm really excited to get to read this one. I'm really, really excited for the video that I'm reading this one for. I'm not going to give you all any hints, but I'll let you see if you could guess it anyways. Actually, I will give you one hint, and the hint is not very helpful because I'm just gonna say it's probably not for the type of video that you would think that it's for. So that is my entire stack. I have it sitting next to me. I'm not going to attempt to pick it up because that sounds like a very bad idea, but thank you so much for watching. Wish me luck on my journey to read down my physical TBR so that I can thrift some more books. I'm sure once I get to that point where I allow myself to buy some books, I will do a little haul. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you guys next time.